In August, I will be setting out from Mount Katahdin in Maine with intentions of setting the fastest time that anyone has ever traveled the Appalachian Trail. This means I'll spend 16 to 20 hours a day on trail attempting to hike and run nearly 52 miles, only to wake up and do it all over again for 41 days straight until I get to Georgia. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I'm excited to find out. If you'd like to learn more about my motivations, intentions on this FKT, rules into fastest known time attempts, you can watch a video up here that I posted last month. With this attempt being so public, a lot of people have asked me a series of questions, and I kind of get the same question over and over again, which is, what are you afraid of, or what are your fears for this attempt? And I did answer this question in my Q&A video that I did last month. You can watch that up here as well. But I thought I'd dive a little deeper into that question since I've been getting it so often. I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Tara, otherwise known as Candy Mama. I am a thru hiker. I have set other FKTs, and just recently I became a professional ultramarathon athlete. So first I'm going to go over some common fears that people ask me about and talk a little bit about why they're not at the top of my list as far as fears go. Later on I'm going to talk about the things that I'm actually afraid for this FKT. The Appalachian Trail is home to so many creatures. That's why we go there, is to be one with nature. But there are some dangerous creatures out there, such as bears, moose, snakes, wild boars, and if you believe in them, Bigfoots. So I'm not super afraid of animals, and I'm doing a big eye roll right now because it sounds a little hoity-toity or cliche. I feel one with nature. I had this epiphany when I was on my first backpacking trip, my first section hike on the Appalachian Trail. And I was out there for my first night, and I was afraid a bear was gonna come up and snatch me on my hammock and maul me to death. And then I just had this revelation. I am part of this. I am part of nature. Ever since then, I have had, fears here and there with animals, with moose, running into moose, or startling a bear on trail, running into a mountain lion in Colorado during the Colorado Trail. But for the most part, I feel a part of the entire system in nature. That doesn't mean I'm going to be running down the trail, throwing caution to the wind. I do want to be aware of my surroundings. If I see an animal, I'm going to keep my distance and I'm going to make noise through the forest. If you startle them, that's when things could go wrong. Also, a personal beacon for emergencies, so such as a Garmin InReach or a spot tracker. I want to have one of those, so if there is an accident with an animal, I can press that and hopefully be rescued. Night hiking is another fear people bring up often to me, and honestly, night hiking is unavoidable if you're going for a long distance FKT such as the Appalachian Trail. The name of the game is not speed, but spending those long hours on trail. That includes at night and in the early morning hours when it might be dark. It doesn't bother me these days, and I'll let you know why. It hasn't always been this way though. I have had to learn to be comfortable night hiking. When I began the MST, the Mountains to Sea Trail, I started night hiking a lot, and I had a lot of fears about it. I was afraid somebody was going to follow me. I was afraid just of the darkness and of the unknown, and just being out there all alone. It just felt so much more intense at night than it did during the day. I would get afraid of people sometimes, especially when I was night hiking near roads, specifically in Asheville, and you're near a lot of roads. But I would think that people were following me, and I know that sounds very paranoid, but when you're tired, your mind starts to race, especially when it's night, and I just got paranoid that people were following me and I didn't know it. So what I did is I turned off my headlamp and I hid in a bush and I kept completely quiet, and I just sat there and listened, waiting for somebody to walk by, but nobody came. So I do that a couple times to kind of center myself and be like, look, it's fine, you're okay. I spend about 2 minutes in the bush, get up, start hiking again, and do it as much as I needed to until I felt safe. When I got on the MacKaye trail the first time, nervous at times, but for the most part, it was when I got in my head. There was a period where I was thinking of skinwalkers. If you've watched those TikTok videos where they talk about skinwalkers, have this grainy surveillance footage of like a skinwalker or like a ghost. I kept thinking of that. I view it differently now. I see it as an opportunity to see the trail in a whole different light, literally. Now, the unknowns and the darkness still get me on edge sometimes. Like I mentioned, if I get in my head, I will be on edge. But night hiking for me is, for the most part, special. A peaceful opportunity. It's quiet and it's also a tunnel of focus. Like you don't have a lot of views, so you're just focused on the trail ahead of you. I talked a little bit about sketchy people or just people in general, and this has been a fear of mine. Just like with night hiking, you know, there are times where I can get in my head, but for the most part, other people don't scare me as much when I'm on trail. We all experience sketchy people in our life. I met James Jordan during my thru hike in 2019. You can learn more about that experience by watching the video I have up here. And he was a sketchy person. He was more than a sketchy person. He was a murderer. Running into people with bad intentions isn't one of my biggest fears on this upcoming venture. 99.99999% of people I meet out there when I'm hiking or backpacking or trail running during races, any of these adventures deep in the backcountry, they're pretty much the best of society. I know it only takes one person to harm you or, God forbid, kill you, but in my experience, I've met way more good people than bad. Now, if I let my fear of people keep me from going for a goal, I'm always going to be wondering, what if? And I don't want to live with a what if. Also, there's going to be people with bad intentions wherever I end up in life. I think the difference is because you're a little more vulnerable out there in the elements on trail, especially being a little fatigued mentally and physically. That puts me in a vulnerable position. So I think that could get in a lot of people's heads, especially for thru hiking. You feel a little more vulnerable, so it makes sense. At least here, I can lock my doors or I can jump in my car. So I do want to recognize that, you know, there is a special element of vulnerability there when you're on the Appalachian Trail. I do feel immensely more safe personally on the Appalachian Trail than I do living here in Virginia Beach. I do want to approach people with a level of caution, just like I would with an animal. Also on FKT attempts, I don't see myself stopping to chat at a shelter. It's more of a touch and go interaction with these FKTs. People with bad intentions, that's not at the top of my fears list. Before I dive into my fears for the Appalachian Trail FKT, I did want to mention I have started a membership program. I will be posting member-only videos about my training for the Appalachian Trail, and all that money from the membership program will go directly to supporting this FKT attempt. So if this is something you'd like to support, then please click the join button under this video. There are 3 tiers. First one is Trail Angel, then it's Crew, and then Crew Chief. All 3 tiers get access to those Appalachian Trail videos. They just get, you know, other perks on top of that the higher you go to Crew Chief. I did want to thank Robert Webb, who recently became a Crew Chief. So thank you so much, Robert Webb. I appreciate all of your support. Also subscribe, comment, like this video. Those are great ways to support this channel as well. It only takes a click on y'all's end to help and encourage creators like me. As always, thank you for the support. Imagine putting so much time and effort, planning and excitement into a project only for it to end in injury. Really am afraid that I'll get maybe a couple days, weeks, even a month into this FKT attempt and I'll have to quit because of an injury that I cannot walk through. This happened in 2022 on the Benton MacKaye trail. I strained my groin and I couldn't run. It happened in 2020, but I still finished, but I was very ill and I was also very injured. It was not a fun FKT attempt. Not that I go out there for fun, but it was just like miserable. I was not eating properly and I had a lot of overuse injuries, lost a lot of weight. I've learned a lot since then. Depending on the injury, I think I can hike through it. Aches and pains are inevitable on these types of FKT attempts. I'm not gonna feel close to 100% at all. I don't even know if I'll feel like 75%. I'm expecting there to be aches and pains throughout. It's gonna hurt. It's not gonna be a comfortable hike or a comfortable run. It's gonna hurt, but when am I willing to stop? And I think I've come to terms with the fact, if this is a injury that is life altering after the FKT, after, you know, I've recovered fully and I'm still dealing with this injury, I think that is a point where I would stop. But it's important to have a crew. So this is a supported attempt, and it's important to have a crew that can assess that. I will be exhausted, my brain's going to be tired, so it's easy for me to go down that road to say, this is forever, this pain that I'm feeling is never going to end. So it's important to have a crew there that you lean on, who will make these decisions for you, who are going to be a little more sound-minded than I will. But I do have game plans for infections and for injuries. You know, there are a lot of FKT attempts that are well documented on the Appalachian Trail, and a lot of these people, like Jennifer Farr Davis, had shin splints. She walked through the shin splints. She walked through Maine with shin splints. Liz Durstein had shin splints the entire time. She had, her toe was humongous with this infection. So my second biggest fear, vehicle breaking down. In 2020, the first day of my highly anticipated FKT on the Mountains of Sea Trail, my support vehicle broke down. It was devastating. The real concern is for the safety of my crew. So I'm really concerned if they break down on a Forest Service road, they have no service to contact, you know, a tow truck. Or another concern of mine, which is worse, is getting into an accident. Is a big fear of mine, because you're going up and down these mountain roads, anything could happen. That did become a reality for my friend Flipper, who crewed the Benton MacKaye Trail FKT in 2022. His vehicle was so close to sliding off this Forest Service road and down this mountain. The only thing that kept him from sliding down, I think it was his oil pan. I think it was his oil pan. I'll put it in this video in text, what it was, but he was so close to sliding off that mountain, and who knows what would happen after that. So I think since then that has developed into a real concern of mine. Now I want to make sure everyone has a personal emergency beacon. They will be on these sketchy roads, and I want to make sure everyone's completely safe and we know where their location is in case something really bad happens, and they have a way to contact emergency services again if they get stranded on one of these Forest Service roads. My last concern is for trail safety. Again, on the Benton MacKaye Trail, so many things should have derailed this FKT attempt, but it didn't. I completed it, and I'm the fastest person to ever complete the Benton MacKaye Trail. So there's so many things that should have derailed it, such as that vehicle breaking down I talked about, but also with the weather and the trail conditions. I was hiking on the second day in 2022 on this FKT attempt. I was hiking on the second day going into night, and I saw the clouds coming in. I saw the thunderstorms rolling in, and before I knew it, there was a thunderstorm. I was hiking at the top of this ridgeline, at the top of this mountain, and the sky opened up, started pouring rain, thunder was crackling around me, lightning. It was night. I was disoriented. I was cold, wet, and afraid. When I finally arrived late to my support vehicle, my mom got out of the vehicle. I think it was like 1 a.m. and she's like, "Tara, is that you? I thought you were dead." This is so sad. If you'd like to read more about that epic adventure, you can buy my book, which is like a short story with a bunch of really detailed photos that my friend Pete took out there during the FKT attempt. I wrote a short story all about that adventure and, you know, how it should have gone wrong, but it didn't. It went well, and there's a successful FKT attempt. I have a link to buy that in the description below, so please support me in that way as well. It was really sketchy. It was a really sketchy time. Anything could happen on these wild backcountry trails. So freak weather, rock slides, flooding. The unknown is my biggest fear as far as like trail safety goes, as far as like conditions go. I'm mentioning all these fears, these 3 fears that I have with the vehicle breaking down, with, you know, unknown people with their bad intentions or injury or trail safety, but really it's all under this blanket of like the unknown. And from my experience, that shouldn't keep me personally from achieving this dream that I have, which is to set the fastest known time on the Appalachian Trail. So yeah, I'm gonna still go out there and give it my all, cross those bridges when I get to them. All right, folks, that is all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. What is an emoji that we could use? Hold on, let me look at emojis. Ooh, let's use this. Not that this is a real fear, I kind of want to see a UFO out there. I think that would be a really neat story. Hopefully I don't get beamed up, because I'm pretty sure that's against FKT rules, especially if they drop me in another part of the trail. But if you watch the very end, please comment a UFO emoji. This lets me know that you watched all the way to the end, and I will say hello in the comments. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!